Hello, hello, hello.
What up, what up?
What's up?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How are you all doing?
I am well.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Okay, so first of all, thank you all. We say Happy New Year to those who are joining us. We said it earlier in our post that we thank you for being with us and supporting our kickoff in November. Can you believe it's been since November? And celebrating our kickoff in November. And then in that short time, we've had over 1,500 views on our videos. So we say that we could not have done it without you. Thank you so much for supporting us. And guess what? We are just getting started. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time in the new year, again, Happy New Year. We've made it to 2021. And as you see, Lisa Lewis Daniels and I met during COVID and decided to do this talk show or talk series. And along the way, I was introduced to the wonderful 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥 and he became our, as Lisa says, our whole husband, our resident husband on social media. And so for the show. And so we're going to briefly just reintroduce ourselves for those who are newly acquainting with us and getting to know us. And so I'm Dr. 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥. I am a leadership and training expert, national speaker, executive coach, and the founder of Be What Matters. And we are a social purpose group movement where we are a personal and professional development company and a community. And we serve emerging executive leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers. And so we're excited to be here. And I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to introduce herself and then to 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Again, my name is Lisa Lewis Daniels. I am 1/3 of this fabulous team that we're creating. I'm also the founder of 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥 Society and executive leadership coach. At 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥, we focus on helping men and women during some of the most crucial decisions as it relates to their career, marriage, and family, where they can have the conversations they need to have about how to move forward and be a success as they move through life. And so, but I would be remiss also in handing the baton off to our third co-host and whole resident husband, Mr. Tobias. Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
I am 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥, the third host of this amazing show.
Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. I'm a poet. My book is coming out hopefully this spring. Life Unscripted, Musings Through Poems. MSW from the Western Michigan University.
Now don't get to representing colleges because I'll represent in a minute. Okay. I'll go back to grade school. Ascension say, okay, sorry. So for those who are joining us, the Truth and Nothing But the Truth is really our way of bringing information based upon our experiences. And when we talk about our truth, we're talking about our experiences, right? The things that we've either heard or gone through in regards to marriage and family and community. And so we really want you to know that we appreciate you being here. Thank you for tuning in. We want to see your comments. So we're asking you to please give StreamYard permission so that we can pull you up and see the actual comments. But we're going to jump into our conversation. Before we do us a favor, share the video with someone you know. And if you see me looking down, I'm getting older. I have notes. That's my truth. I'm sticking to it. Before we get started, like, share the video with somebody you believe needs to hear this. Click the notification button to follow us and subscribe so you know when we're going live. And we want this to be an interactive conversation. So please, 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 as you always do, bring the fire. Yes, let's get this going. Okay, so this topic today is talking about a better me, better us. And as we get into 2021, we thought this was an excellent topic to start off with, because this is the month for a lot of New Year's resolutions and declarations and affirmations and commitments that we make oftentimes to becoming better individuals, right? Whether it be physically or just emotionally or even financially, having goals for the year. And so it is very important to start with yourself before we even dive into this conversation about how do we have a better us. We have to start with the individual. So in last year, we talked about the idea of personal identity and how that plays a pivotal part, an essential part in having a strong marriage. Now we want to talk about this whole idea of being architects. How do we build marriages, great marriages, and with solid blueprints that are sustainable? So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but when we were very excited about this idea of architects, we said that individually, we are people who are coming together as an architect. We are planning, we are designing, and we are overseeing the construction of this building, or what we call marriage. And our personal experiences create the basis for our blueprint, right? What we do and how we operate normally comes from how we were taught. And so we want to get into having this conversation about the skills that are needed to be a solid architect, an individual architect of your own life. And then how do you bring that skill over into working in partnership with your spouse? Does that sound like a plan?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
You said let's go?
Yes.
All right. I'm hearing a little feedback. I don't know where it's coming from, but yeah. This is what we do. So for those who are on with us, let us know where you are coming in from. Hey, Jan, that's my sis coming in. Thank you for giving StreamYard permission. We want to jump into this conversation. One of the skills that's needed in being an architect, just in our research, is that you have to make an assessment. And Lisa, why don't you talk about what does that mean when we talk about make an assessment?
I mean, when you make an assessment, it's like the stop, drop, and roll, right? It's the get real with yourself. Mm-hmm. And you start to realize, or at least I started to realize, I was getting some of the same feedback in a dating construct that, or even work, you just getting the same feedback and you like, why am I getting the same results? So you come to a space where it's time to make a decision. And in the construct of assessment, you're assessing your behavior, the patterns of your behavior, your strengths. We don't say weaknesses at work. Now the new term is opportunities to excel.
Oh, you're starting off in 2021 just dropping stuff.
Okay, that's how we do better us, better me. I mean, we got to start off right on the good foot. And that's how it's required in order to keep amending. And we're going to get into this whole concept of blueprint, which is going to be fire, y'all. They ain't ready, doctor. But anyway,
but they're here.
Assessment is just like the ground zero. It's assessing where you are in relationship to where you want to be.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Tobias?
No, it's just starting where the key is to start wherever you are. So it's not a point of ever being too late. Of just starting where you are is very important. You have all the tools already. It's just using them.
Yeah. You know, when I'm thinking about assessment, I think that's probably the hardest thing for us to do is really understand to accept what we see once we start assessing. Because when you're assessing, you're faced with nothing more than your reflection, right?
Mhm.
And the bad and the good, bad, and the ugly of who you are. And so where it can be very powerful in accepting it, it can also be very scary because you're faced with this reality that I'm not all I'm cracked up to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we like to toot our own horn when it comes to how great we are, 'cause I'll do it in a minute. but assessment is so key. And I think about when the Bible talks about what man doesn't take into account what goes into building, and that's in different stages of the building stage, but you can't take any of that into account. Like, what are the costs of that if you don't do an assessment? What are your thoughts?
Okay. But yeah, it's very important to do an assessment. It's like taking a mirror to your life and where can I improve it? And identifying areas that need, as Lisa stated, areas for improvement. And we all have them. So that's a continual thing that you will have to undergo throughout your life. But the key is to get started somewhere and gradual steps before you get to where you need to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one question we want to ask the audience, so please, please, please make sure that you are making sure that you gave StreamYard your permission. And the first question we want to ask is, how are you adding value? What value are you adding to the relationship, or what value are you adding? And when you're in the assessment stage is really when you start determining what value do I add. And so I want to ask that question out to the audience and think about it. When you think about your relationship as an individual, what value do you add to the relationship? Put that in the chat for us. Talk about that, Tobias, for a moment, about adding value.
Yeah, adding value is key because you want to complement your spouse or the person you're with in the relationship. Not for the other person to dominate who you are, but to complement who you are, because the goal is to make each other better.
Yeah.
But before I get to making each other better, I have to be in a good space.
Wow.
So we want to put that in the chat. Tell me, those who are watching, Grace, I see you're here. Jan, you're here, and anyone else who's coming on, let us know. You think about you as an individual. What value do you bring to your relationship with your spouse? What value do you bring, Lisa?
Oh, you want to start with me? Oh, don't make me pull out the resume. Well, listen. I think the value I bring is my ability to always be on a hustle. Like, I look for things, honestly, that where I can improve in efficiency. Because if I'm working harder, that's not really my thing. Right. So I think I want to ensure that what I'm doing is not taking away from what the family unit is doing. And so I think everything else is just tools, whether it be my job, whether it be trying to build a business, whether it be adding to my education. My strength comes from just wanting to be better. Like, anyone who knows me, my squad knows they gotta make me better. Iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tobias, when you think about what value are you adding to your relationship?
As being the husband, a spiritual leader, which means I pray for not only me, but pray for us.
Yes.
So I have to again be in alignment with God. So in order to lead us. And the other aspect is security. Certain things she shouldn't have to worry about because of my presence. And again, so if I'm present, then certain things she shouldn't have to worry about would be because of my security that I'm going to bring, and allow her the freedom to be her.
Yeah. Jan, thank you for adding. Jan said, my ability to keep things running smoothly. I think I have to piggyback on that, Jan. I think that is definitely the value that I bring, outside of just making sure that I'm a builder. So I'm always building in the relationship, and not that my husband is not, but that's just a strength that I have. And so sometimes situations when our backs are against the wall, I'm looking for ways we can still build and create out of it, right? Out of some intense situations. And I also bring the value of faith, like faith beyond belief, oftentimes is so needed. And so those are two of the things that I definitely bring to our marriage. Anyone else in the chat, let us know, what value do you bring to the relationship? And if you cannot answer that, that could be a question that you ponder with and reflection, because each of us should be bringing something to the marriage, right? And so because we know that some people are either contemplating marriage, or they are engaged, or maybe you're in a seasoned marriage, when you're looking for a spouse, we talked about this idea of a list.
Everybody got one. Well, at least most women got one.
Most women.
Men have a list too. We have a list.
Oh, what's the list?
I want to know. What's the list? What's the top 3?
It's not extensive like you all's list, but we have a list.
So what's the list?
Really simple
new
things.
Information.
Really simple things. Can she cook? Yeah, it makes a difference if she can cook. You don't want to eat out every day.
That's true, right?
Yeah. Does she go to church? Does she attend church regularly? Those kind of things. You're looking for a wholesome person.
Wait. A wholesome? I haven't heard the word wholesome in years.
Which is quite different from the woman that they looking for in their 20s.
Oh, that's a different list. Very different list from the 20s. Very different list. Very different list. In fact, I don't even think it's a list in your 20s.
Okay, ladies, don't beat him up, but it's the truth. He said that's a different list in the 20s. So true. Grace said, my ability to assess and bring clarity is one value that she brings, her ability to assess and bring clarity. All right, so that took me back to the list. Okay, so when you're talking about Lisa, you were talking about something when we were planning, and you were talking about making the assessment. And there was a time when you were having a question with God.
He got me all the way together.
I'll talk about that, because we were like, what? Go ahead.
So it was after I had the person I was dating, I had broken up, and I was like, I need to put myself in a timeout because this ain't working. You know, I'm just like, I feel like the people I'm getting with, they have all the things on my list, but we not making it to the finish line. So I was like, I want to be a wife. And so, you know, when you're able to get by yourself, make that assessment, get real. As I tell my friends, I talk to Jesus every day. So he was like, every day. He was like, but if I sent him, are you really ready to be a wife? And I was like, oh. And I was like, probably not.
So that is something that often comes up in our, I want to say, reflection time, right? Is this idea of the list. Are we, based upon our list, are we actually possessing, and we've heard this a lot of times, are we actually possessing a lot of the characteristics and things that we're looking for in other people? Do we possess those things to be able to demand it? And there are a lot of women and men who will pass up good people and good things because, and good experiences rather, because they are stuck on the list.
Right.
Yes.
And just because you're educated and you got your own car and your own house, which is all good things, doesn't necessarily make you at any given moment a good spouse. So just saying it, because you need compassion, you need empathy, you need compromise, the ability.
And those are things that you're going to learn. And some of those things you're going to learn in the relationship, but you do have to have some degree.
Man, how you going to be in a relationship?
So we gonna go there? We going there?
Because counseling counselor, you got to be in relationship to learn these things. Just tell me, because I want to be a better me.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it's impossible to work on a relationship without being in a relationship? Is that what you're saying?
Just a little bit.
That's really interesting. Interesting.
Wait. Okay, so hold up. I can't stop. I'm not even going down that road yet. I'm not going to go down that road yet. Because what you laughing at is this idea that people say, I need to work, I need time and I need space to work on me as they're getting prepared for a relationship. But the reality is, how can you work on a relationship and not be in a relationship? Is that what we were talking about?
We were. And I mean, you can do that to a certain extent, work on yourself, but really to be in partnership with someone, or to have in order to have a good relationship, you have to be in partnership with someone and receive that feedback that how you relate to them is working for the relationship overall.
Oh, absolutely.
Now the thing.
Go ahead.
Now, if you're talking about if they're going to be out of a relationship and if you're going to be out of a relationship and still try to work on a relationship, the only thing that comes to mind is healing, because it does take time to get over a hurt. If you're hurt, then it does take time. And I would not suggest you enter another relationship until that process has concluded, because if not, then you're going to repeat the whole cycle all over again because you didn't allow yourself the grace period to heal.
Did you just tell me I went to go get the same man with a different name? Is that what
and do it all over again? Yes.
Man, where was you? I didn't get that memo.
Because the reality is, the dysfunction naturally causes you to retreat and self-sabotage, because that is what we know. Right? Right? And so we're not willing to go through the process of what first of all, the assessment takes us to this next part, but we're not willing to go through the process to really embrace what we found in the assessment. When we see that what we want on this list is not quite adding up. And guess what? The list that happens is not just when you're first getting married. We often have lists in our marriage and unrealistic expectations of marriage. Even now, we have some imaginary lists, like it's supposed to be like this. And guess what that list is strengthened in? Social media, images, comparison. Okay, you didn't print. It's too early to
stick to the script, doctor. Stick to the script.
Wait. And I got somebody in the audience. You better hold on for a minute. She said, preach, Dr. Scott. God will always have a witness. Yes. Okay, so going back to it, count up the cost of becoming a better person and make a decision. So when you have that assessment, it becomes a part of you now. You're faced with the decision to make. Am I going to fill in the gaps for those things that I don't have? How am I going to strengthen the things that are really great to be a whole person for this relationship? Okay, so the next skill that you could have as an architect is designing your plan. So there is a scripture, and it's I'm going to say the scripture here only because we often use this. Well, two scriptures. One is, "For I know the plans that I have towards you," said the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. And then another one we use, "Without a vision, write the vision, make it plain." The idea is, how are we actually in the presence of God, in acknowledging Him, designing our lives and designing our plans? So talk about that, Tobias, because you lean forward.
Because I was going with Hosea. I said, those are vision terrorists. Wait for it. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to have church done. But the key in designing the plan is being fair and honest to yourself with the assessment, what you found. And the key in trusting people around you, because sometimes we may not see things. And so you have to trust the people around you to say, okay, maybe I am a little selfish. Maybe I am a little spoiled. Maybe I am a little immature.
I'm loved a lot. Thanks, Lord. I'm loved a lot.
I can't.
And so in those things you can work on, prior to getting into the relationship of being honest with yourself, and as well as let's just say something tangible as credit. I can work on my credit score prior to me entering a relationship, because the truth of the matter is, before I allow someone else to enter my world, I have to first be happy with me. So I have to first, and if I think I'm boring, chances are someone else is going to say, "This is terrible." This is like watching bread mold. Boy. So again, dating yourself. That's what I'm getting to. Okay.
That reminds me of a statement I heard a long time ago, and I will never forget it. This girl said, and she was good and grown to me at the time because she was a single mom. She had her job. She was like doing her thing. And she was like, I don't need to be with a man, any man that can do for me what I can do for myself.
Okay. And so
I was like, I kind of like took that on, and I was like, if I'm gonna be doing all this to add value to this person, then I'm gonna need them to at least be doing what I'm doing. Yeah, sit with that. That was deep. I did that too. I was like, okay.
Because let's look at it. Let's look at it from this standpoint. If let's say just a car, if she was washing the car, being single, and now that I'm here, then I should be washing the car. She shouldn't still be doing the same things as doing before I got there.
Right.
At some point, I have to take up.
Upgrade me.
Right, I have to take up that load.
Let me upgrade you. What in the world? But the truth of the matter is, it's added value, right? It's added value. We should be adding to the person. TDJ said, "Well, I can do bad by myself."
Okay.
Why would I be in a relationship and do bad? But the reality is, we get into the relationship not doing the individual work, and that's one of our points. You got to stop and reflect on yourself, because no one is coming to save you. You have to do the work, and not the work, your work. Right?
Yes.
Your work.
It was funny because in our planning sessions, I kept saying a better you, a better us. And it clicked in my mind that a lot of times when we're talking about improvement, we automatically go externally.
Mm-hmm.
If you would be better, then we could have a better relationship. If you would change your ways, then I would be happier, right? But no, boo boo. Better you, better me, better us.
Right.
It's always easier to point the
like
finger.
that little girl said on YouTube, worry about yourself. If you worry about yourself and not everybody else, we would be all good.
Absolutely. And Tobias was saying, pointing the finger, right?
Yes. And it is real easy to point the finger at somebody else and say it's your fault, the reason we're here, or if you did this, then we wouldn't be here. Yeah, it's always easy to do that. But at some point, you have to take responsibility.
I mean, I gotta be accountable for my own life.
Yes, it can't always be somebody else's fault.
Okay.
Yes. And Grace said something. She said it takes a lot of development and trust to accept the assessment that someone else has about you.
Oh.
Because we walk around in self-deception all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's advice ain't good advice, so I kind of agree with her. You know, because some people be trying to show shade in their advice. And you can't be doing worse than me giving me advice. I'm just saying. So I agree with you, Grace.
But that's why I mentioned earlier of surrounding yourself with people that you actually trust and trust their idea. I mean, and trust what they're saying is from the heart, as opposed to just being a hater.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because let me tell you something. I have some people in my court, and she's probably Grace is one of them, that will tell me the truth about me. And it goes back to what we talked about last year. It takes a village. You have to have people around you that will help you see you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Because otherwise you're just walking in this cloud of, again, self-deception. So,
and one little thing I want to interject, this one little thing. Once you make your assessment and it's creating a mirror image, if you don't like what you see, you have the ability to change it. And that is the key to it. It's not a permanent thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the mirror, you have the ability to change what you see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking in the mirror a lot of times lately, and I'm like,
oh.
There's some changes that needs to go around. But you know what? I say that in jest, but the reality is sometimes we cannot move forward individually because there are parts of us, whether it be physically, emotionally, or spiritually, that we do not like or feel like they're up to par. And so instead of dealing with it, because you can change it, we get stuck in not dealing with it, because guess what? Dealing with it takes work.
And it's also fear.
And it's also comfort.
And it's work, it's fear and comfort. And we get comfortable being complacent.
Yes.
Right?
This is true.
So yes. So Paying attention to details of your life requires that you pay attention to how you are designing it. And what we've been talking about is this idea when you're designing this plan, you have an opportunity. Anyone who's built a house or built anything, you have an idea you can restructure things. It doesn't have, it's not in concrete until it's actually in concrete.
Right. Until it's in the past.
Absolutely.
And then the past is the past. At that point, at any given point, you can decide to change.
Absolutely. So how are you designing your personal blueprint? If you're still with us, or catch us in the live, please in the replay, please make sure that you put in, how are you designing your blueprint? Let's move on to when you are doing your blueprint. And this was a spicy question that a lot of us choose based on our present situation and not necessarily our future selves. And I had this conversation today, and I understand both parts of it because I'm one that says, you know what, there have been times where I definitely have been in relationships where I didn't choose for where I was going, right? I had an idea of what my blueprint was, and I thought that person fit the mold of where I was going. But because you don't really know how your life will evolve, can you choose a mate based on your future self?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You can. I'll let the counselor go first.
Yes, because again, men are visual creatures. So we see the amazing body and the eyes and all of those physical features. However, those things don't last forever. Sounds good, but again, temporary. So again, you want to pick someone that has a good attitude, that works well with others, and has the family structure is important because you're going to be marrying not only to that person, but married to the other person's family. So background is also an important thing. If you're looking for education is also a key. A job. Do you have goals? Where are you trying to lead as a man? Where are you trying to lead us?
Yeah.
So if he doesn't have those things, then
what we dating for?
But the other piece of that is, and we both know it goes both ways, but we put a lot of sometimes pressure on men to have that, like that assessment of if I'll say it like this, it's twofold. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on women to have it figured out in their mate and choosing their mate, but we also put pressure on men, or not enough pressure on men, I would say, in saying, are you choosing a woman for where you're trying to go?
I can see that. I agree with that.
We feel like women have to have it all figured out, and probably because we're analytical like that, we just do a lot of reflection. And I know I'm generalizing, because not all women are reflective, not all women are mindful. We're impulsive sometimes, and we don't really make that recommendation, a prerequisite for either one. Like, it needs to be a prerequisite for the man as well to be mindful about, where are you going? What are we doing?
Facts. And you have, and I think part of that is starting with a good foundation. You know, going back with you and being clear about what you want, and long term and short term. I would say some of it could be luck, but a lot of it was planning and getting clear, for me, getting clear about what I wanted in the end game of life. Like, I'm not going this way again. So this model got to work. So like when the kid is 18 and he's off to college or culinary school or wherever he going somewhere. Like, I still like his father, so we gonna be cool once he leave the house.
Yeah.
So it's not only, it's understanding if the person you're with, you can see them in every phase of your life. Like, I could see him as the newlywed husband. I could see him as the father. I could see him as my ride or die, my rock when things got rough. And then I can see him back as my boyfriend again when this kid leave the house.
And that's a good thing. But okay, so I'm gonna let you have that one, Lisa. I'm gonna let you have that one. But how many people do we know who are in marriages right now with people that they did not base it on their future self? Because at the end of the day, some people married when they were very young and they didn't even have enough insight. And there's no shade to them. They just didn't have the insight and the wherewithal to have that kind of assessment to say, oh, 10 years down the road, do I see myself with him? 20 years down the road, can I see myself with them? And so we find ourselves in marriages that are unfulfilling. And then we decide, instead of doing the work, I need time for me.
So I'm truly not with these next couple statements, because my whole reason for existing right now is to keep people married once they stay married. But this didn't originate with me. I'm going to blame it on John Willie, a.k.a. my father. Happy birthday, who turned 75 today.
Woo! All right.
Yeah, okay. Happy birthday, John Willie.
Yes.
He gave me this piece of advice about my husband we was dating. And this was the question that made me realize that I could do life with him. He said, whatever you don't like now, you won't like it later. So if it's things that get on your last nerve and it's like a no-go, then you should not get married.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And so that caused me to pause and be like, okay, is there anything about him that I truly don't like and I can't foresee, like, really? Because if he made me mad, it was like, I would really be real petty because I'm real independent with my own money and my own. Okay.
Wait. What you say, Tobias?
I can't imagine you being petty. That just doesn't seem like you.
Well, because you're my friend today, I'm gonna let it go. Tomorrow. But yeah, I think you have to make an assessment. That was my question that caused me to realize, could I do life with this person? And so hopefully people who are married and they may be in this weird space, you can find support and work through it. That is my hope. And those for you who are interested in getting married or you just got married, continue to work on those things and find resolution, because if you allow it to fester, it's going to become a bigger problem. It's not going to go away.
Absolutely. It goes back to what we said before. You cannot really progress over disconnections. And a little is no different than when you have a little pebble that hits a mirror, that hits the windshield. You keep driving it, you keep going. The bumps don't stop in the road, and that becomes a shattered piece now that you have to spend more money in getting it done. And it goes to what we're going to be talking about with building this house of marriage. It's that deferred maintenance, the stuff you keep putting off, that cooler, the heater that you didn't fix.
Oh, let me drop a nugget. So my husband and I were talking about this because we're about to, over the next year or so, to start putting money back into the house we bought several years ago. Unrelated to this, but you made me think of something. You were, as a rule of thumb, you're supposed to put 1% of maintenance and improvement back in your house based on the value of the house. So we want to get married, and women, we want to put the ring on and flash it to our girls. Hunty, you gotta put maintenance back in that man so he don't fall apart. Y'all don't fall apart. Like it's a reinvestment every year, every day, every minute. So I just thought that was interesting because I don't think that's talked about enough about the maintenance that it requires once you get the whole husband and the whole baby. Like you got to put some time back into it in order to see it continue to be fruitful. So,
okay, so go ahead, Tobias.
Oh, and the thing about the reinvestment that she spoke about is being able to live with delayed gratification, because I'm investing in something I may not see immediate return, but I still have to continue to sow into it.
Okay, so what oh my God. Yes,
okay.
Yes. I'm gonna put this back up. You cannot progress without addressing disconnections. And guess what? So many of us, we have it on the flip end that we will invest in other people. We'll put all of our investment and maintenance in our spouse, but we won't do that for ourselves. Right? And so then we're stuck 10 years down the road and looking around saying, what happened?
Who are you?
Right. Now I'm in a identity crisis. Right. And I'm in an identity crisis. Now I'm looking around, not inwardly, saying, what did you do to get me to this point?
I didn't sign up for this.
Right. I need time. I need space. But you have to continually invest in you. You cannot expect to have a whole marriage, a whole relationship, even in a friendship, if first of all, you're the only one investing, or not investing enough in yourself to show up your best self in the relationship. You know, and guess what? The other thing I was thinking about, I was talking to my husband, and I said, wow, we've been married in August, it'll be 20 years.
Woohoo!
Yes, Mr. David. Yes. And when we're talking about our blueprint and choosing a mate based upon your present or future you, I'm still reassessing. We have another 20, 30, 40, 50 years that we need to get through. And I still have to constantly invest and reassess how are we developing for the future part of us, our future part of our marriage. And so that was just a thought that came to me the other day. And I'm like, Lord, I gotta be working on me to make sure that I'm whole and ready for the rest of these years. What are your thoughts?
And that requires a plan of action.
Absolutely.
You know, what blueprint, what processes, what guardrails worked for the first 20 years, you better believe it's not going to necessarily work the next 20. I mean, you can obviously take knowledge learned from the first 20 years to help in the next 20, next 30, next 40, but it's going to change because you change, your wants change, right. Your needs change. Yeah. And so it's one thing to assess and acknowledge that there's a problem. There's one thing to dream about how you're going to become this great problem. But Hunty, I need some actions. I need your actions to match your words.
And okay, so I'm gonna pull this up, and I have to give a shout out. I'm so honored. My bishop, Suffragan Bishop Monica Price is on the line.
All right, Bishop.
Okay.
Yes. And so she said something, and I want to pull this up. Having potential is great, but what are you currently working with?
Okay.
Don't come on here preaching messages already, Pastor.
Show me the receipts.
Right. We want what we want, and the potential is there. You know, even in relationships, and she was really getting to reciprocation is key, because otherwise resentment sets in, and it's inevitable, right? And this is how we get to these marriages in relationships that need a lot of repairing. A lot of repairing. Grace said investment is a must in a marriage. Keeping it. Yes, Sister Lisa.
Mm-hmm. And I know a thing or two about investments.
And investment is hard work. But the return, we talk about that ROI, right? And we were talking about the idea of having a house. It goes into now we have a greater assessment and a greater value of our house based upon the based upon the girl, based upon yes,
the improvements. Yes.
And I'm not even talking about just in our relationship with other people. I'm talking about even in our relationship with ourselves. Because if there is no spouse, you have to be a whole person, a complete person in Christ, and in fulfilling the purpose that He has for your life.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now. All right, I'm going to
preach it?
Huh?
Are you going to open the doors?
The doors of the church are now open.
And also to piggyback on that, it's a muscle. So it's gonna feel strange. Mm-hmm. Right? So if it happens at all, it's a continuous thing and it's gonna feel weird and there's gonna be frustrations, there's gonna be setbacks, but the time and investment, I mean, honestly, at this point in life, I feel like all the stuff that I really worked on as a baby, like this year was 20, well, last year, technically now, was 20 years as an East Coast girl. I moved here 20 years ago. And I literally feel at this point in my life, all the things that I did for the last 20 years, like I'm seeing the harvest.
Yeah.
20 years. It was so many setbacks, so many tears, so many cuss words. I mean, it was ridiculous. But look at me now, hunty. Okay. So it's worth it to put in the work and believe that it's going to work out for your good.
Absolutely. And make
because I heard something online a long time ago that said if He brought you to it, He'll bring you through it.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And and He'll cover you when He didn't bring you to it, and still take you through it.
Grace will do that. Grace.
Grace, because some of us got into some situations that God didn't necessarily ordain, but He's still.
Is it testimony time? I'm
not. You know what? When the preacher is in you, when the Spirit lives in you, it just comes up and shows up. So don't blame it on me. Blame it on the Sunday school classes, Wednesday night Bible class, Sunday. Okay, sorry.
You was enough church right there for the both of us.
Because I failed Sunday school.
Right.
Not failed Sunday school. Investment is important in every relationship. What is the litmus test to know that you have grown as a couple or in your friendships? Where are the dividends? Come on. Listen, I had this conversation. I want y'all to chime in on this on New Year's Eve. And I talked about part of investing in yourself is sometimes realizing, and I'm not talking about necessarily your marriage unless it's a toxic marriage, but realizing when you're in relationships and in spaces where you've stayed too long, you've invested too much, and guess what? No fruit. We got to see something.
What are we doing here?
Come on, 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥, what you got on that?
I'm not gonna walk down this street. I'm not.
We need a clinical definition of how to handle toxic people.
No, but again, how do we get here? That's the honest conversation. Is how did we get here? And that's not a singular person. That is us. So at somewhere along the way, a conversation was not had, and actions were not taken. So I can't place it on one person. That's a us thing, that we did not bear fruit.
Yeah. And being mindful of, so we're talking about being an individual architect, first doing the assessment work. Where am I adding value? Determining what do I bring to this relationship, whether it be in my engagement stage or as a seasoned marriage. In a seasoned marriage, what am I continually adding value to? How am I continually adding value? Because sometimes we get stuck in, and I think about the song Janet Jackson says, "What have you done for me lately?" We get stuck on what we were given 20 years ago. The need has changed. The desires have changed. And you're going to have to pull back and dust some of that off and get some new skills.
Right. And what the one thing when you brought that up, we didn't really touch on it a lot, but in the assessment, when you're getting real with yourself, you understand or come to understand by paying attention to the details, there's gaps.
Yeah.
And you have to get new skills.
So being mindful as individuals. You have anything, 𝗕𝗘𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥?
No, I was going to say that we have to continue to reinvent ourselves as the couple goes into those latter years. You have to continue, as you say, make sure that we're communicating and our needs are being met, because our needs and desires do change with the seasons. So the conversation is very, very important. Where are we as a couple, and where are you as an individual?
Yeah. So once we've gotten to through the assessment and we've talked about designing the plan, they can't stop there, otherwise there wouldn't be any building. Now it's time to implement a plan of action. You have to put the work in. And for individuals, it's taking the initiative for your own personal development. You have to do your work. You have to do the work and take the opportunity to grow and learn from the experiences, with the understanding that this is a muscle, as Lisa said earlier, that must be consistently worked. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree that, and it's a gym. It's not the physical gym that we'll go to, the 24-hour fitness or Planet Fitness, that the marriage and the life becomes a gym. And working out those things, working out my faith, working out my stability, my stick-to-itness to this relationship.
Yeah. And she said, one has to be honest about skill set, even at the gym. Don't pick up something you're not ready for. She said, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. Right. Don't go to the weight till you haven't done the treadmill yet.
Right. Everybody was talking about leveling up. You gotta go get some skills. It's levels within the levels.
Yes.
But again, it's starting where you are. And that's the main thing. Starting wherever you are. You have to, for you to be a better person, just start right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm going to start Monday and go to the gym, since we're talking about the gym.
Okay.
How about tomorrow?
I said I'm going to start Monday and go to the gym. My journey, Lisa. It's my journey.
I'm just saying, Weight Watchers, they be like, you do a bad meal, don't wait till like tomorrow, do the next meal.
Monday, Lisa. Monday.
No judgment. I went to Weight Watchers this morning, honey. So the struggle is real.
I'm taking the initiative Monday.
That's her plan of action, Monday.
Thank you. And Tobias said, start where you are.
This is true.
But there is so much work that we have to do as individuals, and being honest and mindful and aware to go through that part of the assessment. And yes, Pastor, being honest with where you are and embracing it, because again, like you said, it can improve if you put in the work. And so it's hard to believe that we've been talking for an hour. And we want to, first of all, thank everyone who's come on, those who are going to catch us on the replay. We are coming back again January 23rd to continue the conversation, and we're going to dive deeper into the idea of now being in partnership and creating this building, this house of marriage. And so stick with us this year for sure, because we are talking about the blueprint of marriage is going to be fire.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts you all have before we wrap up?
No, I mean, it's all, we got another whole 12 months to get it right.
Start with you. Anything you have?
No, just start where you are. That's wherever you are. Start where you are and be honest about where you are. And it's not permanent. You can change. You have the ability to change.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, as always, thank you all. I love this. If you lack wisdom, ask God, who gives generously to all and not finding fault, and it will be given to you. Wherever you are lacking, when you see your assessment, right? As an architect, you must assess, you must design the blueprint, the plan, and then you have to take action. And so we're going to be talking about those 3 steps and skills that are needed now in partnership on January 23rd. So thank you again for joining us. Please share, please comment, share with people.
Hit the like button.
Yes. And we appreciate your support. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you on January 23rd with Better Me, Better Us. God bless you all. Stay safe until next time.